Howdy. Howdy. Well, it's a great pleasure to be here with all of you. As director of the Norman Borlaug Institute, as we know, the good Dr. Borlaug is looking down on us, and we got to get our, things going always and do the best job we possibly can. And that's why I am so proud of the presentation that we have here this afternoon. I am a Aggie by association because I've been here 27 years, but I actually went to Virginia Tech. All right, so with that said, let me introduce to you someone that you know very well, Dr. Jack Elliott, who is regional director of our Africa Region Institute, and he will make the introductions of the speakers.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Morano. Okay, and I'm not going to introduce everybody except for a couple folks. We have from the USDA Foreign Ag Service sitting right over here, Chris Biles. She's our international program specialist. We also have in the back of the room Trent McKnight. He's the founder and president of AgriCorps. AgriCorps is the base. We base our IAEFP program on. We have many people online, including some USDA FAS personnel online, and some of them will be recognized later. And when we got this grant a couple years ago, Tobin and I, Dr. Redwine and I, we were discussing how are we going to make it happen. And we found a young woman named Jessica Spence who said, "This is my dream job." But I'm going to reverse that and say, basically, it was our dream hire. And so with that, I'm going to introduce Jessica Spence. She's our program coordinator for Ghana. Welcome.
Well, thank you everyone for being here today. As Dr. Elliott said, I'm Jessica Spence, the program coordinator for IAEFP, and I've had the pleasure of working with these lovely fellows for the past 11 months in Ghana. So we're excited to bring to you today their perspective on positive youth development in Ghana, which we're calling Sowing Seas, and they will talk about that today. But first, to introduce them, we have Connor Billman, who's still in Ghana. He'll return one day. And we'll hear from him a bit virtually in a moment. We have Mary Michael Lifford, Praise Benson, Lauren Seeley, Manny Catala, Nene Brown, Phil Scott, and Sherry Ray. So those of you who are maybe unfamiliar with IAEFP, we are the International Agricultural Education Fellowship Program funded by the USDA FAS and housed at the Borlaug Institute. And we've been operating in Ghana for the past 11 months with our wonderful in-country partner 4-H Ghana. The fellows have been in different communities, working in junior high schools and a senior high school to work with co-teachers, implementing positive youth development teaching techniques, implementing or continuing 4-H programs, and working with local farmers. So that's a little bit about what we're doing with our program. And a brief overview over positive youth development. You'll hear a lot more on all of these topics today and the perspectives on them, but this is the model that 4-H Ghana uses to implement in their classrooms through their programming. And briefly, those 5 C's that make up positive youth development are connection, competence, confidence, character, and caring. The fellows have been working with co-teachers in their schools who are an integral part of this entire operation and have also had their own experience with implementing positive youth development in the classroom. So I wanted to start this off by asking them what their view on positive youth development is.
Positive youth development is simply, in my own perspective or view, is an umbrella term that covers different kinds of fields. It has the motive of empowering youth positively for them to become a better people in society and in the country.
It helps them to get closer to us. They can approach us easily. Whatever they want to ask, maybe they want to ask questions, it draws them closer to us.
Positive youth development has helped them to develop those talents and those skills. They have seen that if you are a lady or a girl, you can become a leader in a community, you can become a leader in your church, you can become a leader in your school, and they can use the practical aspect to develop their lives.
They engage in activities that will enable them attain leadership skills in the future, and also help them to be exposed to new ideas.
Youth empowerment simply means the various activities a child or a youth is being taken through to make the child being equipped with values, skills, and some attitudes, knowledge that will make the child be fit well in the society.
Positive youth development to me is empowering the youth with their skill so that they can prepare for their future.
The youth development, as I know, is how we train the kids, and then in future they grow and then become the useful to the nation and to the society. Now, as compare the previous years to this year, from the time I witnessed the 4-H in this school, there has been an improvement, and then that achievement is very high. I have not seen any school in this community or in my area where I'm coming from to teach in this school where kids or learners have their own garden and then grow, harvest, and then sell to save money for their own business.
Now, when you say positive youth development, it is a process of preparing a young person positively to face challenges which comes on his or her way in order to make a potential achievement at the end of tasks which have been presented to the young person. That is a positive youth development, and it can be achieved through an experiences and also a continuous practice.
Yeah, when it comes to competence, it is the ability to withstand bad times. Connection have to do with our relationship with each other. That's the peers, the family, and then the others. When it comes to character, they are the acceptable behaviors in the society. When it comes to caring, they are the sympathy or empathy that we have for one another. So when we are able to come together with all these 5 C's, we are going to build up a healthy human being. Thank you.
When we talk about youth development, young youth development, it's about giving youth the opportunity and helping youth to develop a positive outcome of their life, providing them with the support and also leading them through things that it will enable them go through or live peacefully in the society. Also to enhance them with some activities which will lead them through their life.
Positive youth development, I think, is basically about building a responsible men and women by empowering them to be successful in life. In fact, in every aspect of their life, that is their emotional, their cognitive, the way they relate to other fellows, their physical, and everything, so that the child or the individual will be responsible and productive in society and not being a burden to society. I think the motive behind PYD is to help students or help young individuals to acquire knowledge, acquire better skills, to be good leaders in future, and to be self-sufficient, self-disciplined, and self-productive, so that we can build a good family, a good society, and a good nation. That's what I think about positive youth development.
So as you can see, we had some truly incredible co-teachers working with our fellows this past year. And to kick off the fellow tales on their 5 C's, we have Connor, again, virtually, starting us off with a story that he witnessed on Connection.
The engine roared as the van climbed the hill from Ahia Menchene towards Koforidua and the first 4-H leadership camp. When we arrived at the camp, students nervously opened the door of the van and made their way to the leadership camp, and we're just nervous walking around, not really sure to talk to. People are from different schools, they've never been to the place before, so just a lot of nervous chatter, and they just stayed within their own small groups. But as The hours became days, and the end of leadership conference came to an end. They had all formed relationships with students from different schools, and like had exchanged numbers, made friends, and those cliques that they had started with had started to disappear a little bit. And so move on a couple weeks from leadership camp, and I'm hiking up a hill with one of my students, and we're huffing and puffing, and he gets a call, and it's from his friend that he made at leadership camp from a village quite a ways away, just calling to check in, see how he's doing, and just like a connection that he'd made at camp that had continued after camp. And that connection, and the word connection, is one of the 5 C's of the positive youth development model that can be seen. And so connection can be seen in a lot of different facets. So connection can be seen in how students can connect with their peers from other schools and regions. It can be seen in how the 4-H members can learn about educational opportunities and future opportunities through field trips and other endeavors. Connection can be seen in how 4-H members apply what they learn in the classroom to their lives and their homes. Connection can also be seen with how 4-H members further their relationships with their peers and their teachers.
Thank you, Connor. And to continue explaining her experience with connection, Mary Michael.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you so much for taking an hour of your day to come listen to us talk about something that is very near and dear to our heart. My name is Mary Michael Litford, but my local name is Akosia Mansa. And I spent the last 10 months in Ayeldu St. Augustine Catholic Basic School in the central region of Ghana, which is about an hour away from the coast. Like Connor said, we're here to talk about connection as the first speak, Albert Kojo John. When I tell you that someone's laugh can literally change the world, it's Albert, and I mean it. He's wicked talented and smart, gifted, smart. Patrick Tando. He is the hands down hardest working person I have ever met in my life. Henry Duamoa. When someone smiles like Henry, the whole room changes. Morris Otu. He doesn't say much, but he doesn't have to because he just does. 4 of these are my students. Well, all 4 of these were some of my students. And all 4 of these students took what we learned in our school garden and brought it back to their home. And they recreated our school garden, but they did it better and they added to it. Connection. Morris, Patrick, and Albert all took the 3 pits method of composting that we started in our school garden, and they brought it back to their house and they recreated it, as you can see in the picture. And after 6 weeks of using your own food waste, you have your own fertilizer for your crops. Connection. It was Albert and Patrick, after we went on a field trip or an excursion to the University of Cape Coast, about an hour away from my village. It's a prestigious agriculture university. And we went there on a field trip and we were walking through the greenhouses and they learned a method of trellising that I didn't even know. And they brought it back and they recreated it in their school garden and in their home gardens, as you can see in these pictures. Connection. We had a guest speaker, Emmanuel Boateng, come to our 4-H club to talk about rabbit breeding. Emmanuel Boateng is one of my dear friends. He's an expert rabbit breeder in our community, and he's also a teacher at my school. And after his presentation, Patrick became really interested and started his own rabbit tree. Today, he has one. Connection. Unfortunately, agriculture is not the easiest thing in the world. We know that things go wrong and things start to happen that are against you. And his rabbits started dying one after the other. And we were like, what is happening? Well, it was actually Albert, a 13-year-old 6th grader who outsmarted me and figured it out. A possible cause. We went on another field trip or excursion to a no-till center. He said, Madame, a lilo pad. I said, What? I don't know about you, but that's not in my vocabulary. And I have a degree in agriculture, but I don't really use that very much. And again, he is in 6th grade. He said, oligopathy. And I said, okay, go on, go on. He said, I think that's what killed Patrick's rabbits. I said, keep going. And he said, when Patrick cut the grass, I don't think he let it dry in the sun long enough for the toxins in the plant to die. And he fed it to the rabbits and it killed them. Mind-blowing connection. Something that I didn't even think about. And that may or may not be the cause of death. But he had no skin in the game to figure that out. It wasn't his rabbit, but he did. And that's connection. Over break, I took Patrick back to UCC to show him a pathway because he wants to study agriculture. I wanted him to meet some professors there. So we were walking along the greenhouses again and the farms, and I heard, Patrick, if you work really, really hard and you get a good exam score on your BEC, we will mentor you and support you through senior high and university. My brain exploded. My heart was pounding because I didn't hear that just from one professor. I heard that from 3 different professors. He left that day with not only a pathway forward, but mentors and support from a prestigious university. Connection. It was 3 weeks later that one of those professors, the one on the very far right, and I think a lot of these people that I'm mentioning are all on Zoom today, which is really cool. He came to Ayeldu, an hour away, down really bumpy back roads to see my school garden and meet my 4-H club. And he educated them, and here they are with their cover crops, the mung beans, and he's talking to them. I wasn't even there. I had left at this point, and he came back. And so now it's not just Patrick, who's right behind him, that has this connection. My whole 4-H club has a mentor connection. I learned from a very early age that connections are what makes the world go around. It doesn't matter how smart you are sometimes, which is a good thing for me because I cannot keep knowledge in my brain for too long. But I know that connections get you places. That's what got me places. And so it makes me so happy to see these connections and be able to witness the connections happening in Ayeldu. There's one more thing I want to talk about, but it's not really my place to talk about it. And that's the connection between different subjects and 4-H. And so I'm going to invite a friend of mine and a colleague, who's our mathematics teacher, Daniel Aware, to talk a little about the connections he's seen between my students in his classroom and his subject, who are also his students. So with no further ado, please welcome Daniel Aware.
I am Mr. Daniel Ayo, a mathematics teacher and assistant head teacher in administration in Ayeldu Catholic Basic School. Ghana is one of the countries in the world with a youthful population. The future of this country rests in the hands of the young people today who are existing here. So it is therefore very necessary for the youth of this country to receive the training and education that can help them build the future we yearn for. I would like to talk about connection as one of the 5 C's. In the last 10 months of 4-H in my school, I have observed some connections club members have made in their lives. Some 4-H executives, including Jacqueline Amabafo, Stephanie Mensah, Patrick, and Olivia Noble, are improving in their academic performance, perhaps because of their leadership roles in the club, and because they have developed some skills in reading, leadership, public speaking, and communication. And these are essential in every aspect of our lives. Some learners have also learned to be hardworking and diligent in the classroom, and so they have started to take lessons serious, knowing that they have a better future should they work hard. Now, these skills and values have had impact on their academic performance in mathematics and other subjects. Other 4-H members who have seen improvement in their academic performance include Samuela Afo and Frederick Forsen. The last thing I would like to talk about is some students have also learned to tolerate varied views and opinions, and for that reason they have changed their character and are relating well with their peers. Previously, some of them were aggressive and kind of autocratic, but the parliamentary proceedings that they've observed over the 10 months have changed their life. So that is what I can say about the connections that some members of our club, Noble Club, 4-H Club, has developed. Thank you.
I'd like to bring Lauren Rees up to speak up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Grace Benson, and I was placed in Apunapolo, AGS, in Seoul, Ghana.
And my name is Lauren Apia Seeley, and I was in Chungwasa VA Basic School, also Eastern Region, Ghana.
And today we're going to be talking about competence. I have a personal story to share. Personally, for me, one of my hobbies is bead making. I make complex bead designs. So I was working on a particular project on a particular day where I thought it's very important to share, to bring the students into my craft. So I want to show. So these are some of my students making one of the bags I was doing. I just wanted them to be a part of it. So I started the design and the finished design. So while working on the design, I was like, it would be unfair to, first of all, I don't have the money to make bags for everyone. Second of all, the bags I make is for women alone. So it's be biased to just make for the women. So I thought, what would be very affordable and what would everybody benefit from? And then we decided to make keychains, which we call key holders. You can feel them, you can touch them. So my kids were introduced to two different designs. We made the round keychains and we made the square keychains or the rectangle keychains. My students learned over and over, and because we have different people that learn differently, some of them were able to grasp it at a very quick range, and some of them couldn't. But with time, they were able to teach themselves, and they were able to pass that knowledge to their peers. So now, not the only one person knows how to do it, all of them know how to do it, and they all have keychains. They're able to use the keychains to put their keys on, or to just hang it on their screen forms, or to put their classroom keys on it. It's very fun. Last month, we had a 4-H camp where we were able to teach different topics. One of the topics was bead making. It was a bead making class. We had a whole class with different types of beads, different types of shape. And one of the person that helped me was one of the fellows, Nene. Nene was, she was trained on it and she's able to do the round keychains. So she helped the student as well to make the round keychains, so I took the other design. I thought after the camp, I'm done. We're done with the keychains, everybody can go home. But a couple of days later, a couple of weeks later, the fellow started calling me, please, where can I buy the keychains? Where can I buy the beads? What are the materials I need? Because when they were done with the camp, when the students went back to their site, they really wanted to share to their peers. So some of them were teaching themselves, some of them even came up with their own designs. And so it's just like very interesting because not only were they able to learn by themselves, they were able to pass it to their peers. And the funny thing was that they got to the point where they were selling it. So now they are selling these things, they're even to buy something as small as pencil, pen, exercise book, and things of that nature. These are some of the students from some of the fellow schools, and I want to learn to share more on that.
Yeah, so I was one of the fellows who took bead making back to my community, but it wasn't just me. It was mostly my student Bless. So he learned bead making at the 4-H camp. And when we came back to Chungwasa, I had him teach everybody how to make the round key holder. These students here with the round ones, Bless is the one who taught them how to do that. So not only was he competent enough to efficiently execute the skill, he took it the next level and was able to teach more people how to do the round key holder. He really did well. At my site, we focused mainly on other livelihood skills. So we focused mainly on agriculture. And in my village, the most common form of farming is a cassava maize system. So if you're not planting maize, you're planting cassava, or you're alternating between the two. And so the advisors at the 4-H club that I was sent to, Sir Ike and Madam Erica, had the idea to do intercropping or mixed cropping. So we take the same cassava and maize, but plant it on the same plot. So once your maize matures, you can harvest that and wait for some more months before your cassava matures and harvest that as well. So you can get 2 harvests out of the same piece of land. So at the bottom, my Form 3s or grade 9 equivalent are standing in our cassava field. And then at the top, they're making banche e more or cassava dough to sell at market. And then on the far right, that was our maize harvest. In addition to the cassava maize system, Sir Ike also had a lot of knowledge in vegetable farming. And we can find vegetables in the market year round that are local, but in my village, we didn't have the knowledge of how to do this. Like some of my students' parents have farmed vegetables in the past, but it wasn't a recent endeavor, so many of my students did not have the knowledge or the competency of how to farm vegetables. So we were able to practice in our school farm some of the cultural practices that go into vegetable farming. And this happened to overlap with our curriculum very well. There's a whole portion about cultural practices in the garden. So meaning weeding, watering, earthing up, thinning out, mulching, all of these types of things. And my students, being English second language learners, they're even just getting them to pronounce mulching, that's a task itself. But then also explaining the theory of what is mulching in a classroom like this, it's hard to come across. So we were able to go out into the field and practice learning by doing, a 4-H Ghana principle, to help put meaning behind these terms so they can really understand them well. So one of our crops was carrots. So they had to make the beds, they had to thin out the carrots and give each carrot space to grow, and they had to learn when the correct time for harvesting was. Another crop that we grew was lettuce. So they again had to build the beds, but they added another layer. They had to learn how to do a nursery and how to transplant our lettuce into the bed. And they had to learn when the correct time for harvest was. They had to know once the lettuce starts forming the ball, that's when we should harvest rather than letting it bolt and becoming bitter and losing your money at the market. On the far right, that is our lettuce packed up, ready to go to Covarrubias and Yucatan, where we're able to sell our lettuce at the market. Did was groundnuts or peanuts. Here we planted them in rows, and my students learned how to earth up groundnuts. So once the nodes start showing at the bottom of the plant, earthing up is moving the soil on top of them. We also had a very nice harvest. And we grew some other vegetables as well throughout my time there. And towards the end, I wanted my students to practice their competency in vegetable farming all on their own. We had our at-home projects, and I introduced it to everybody in my 4-H club. I hung this poster in every class that had a 4-H member in it. So class 4, 5, 6, form 1, 2, 3. So grades 4 through grade 9. And I asked them to write a proposal, practice their skills, and tell me what they wanted to plant, why they wanted to plant it, and where they wanted to plant it. And then draw a picture of what their garden might look like. So I could see if they want to practice intercropping, if they want to do monocropping or some other idea that they had that they wanted to execute. At first, I only had 2 students come to me, but Patricia Tatley wrote her own proposal here, and then Ella Angel, that's her in front of her Oak Grove garden. So they were the early birds. They came first, and I went with them. I got them seeds. We started working on the beds together and whatever I could do to help them out. And then with time, the other students saw me doing this, and they started coming to me before school, during school breaks, and even after school when I had gone home, bringing me their proposals or asking me, Madame, I also want some seeds to plant at home. My students became competent enough in this vegetable farming that they felt confident to go and take those seeds and do the project on their own. So not only were they able to do it successfully, not only were they able to farm vegetables successfully with supervision, now they're trying it out on their own in their own home gardens. With that, I'll turn it over to the next C, our confidence crew, Manny and Nene.
Hello, my name is Manny Katala, and I taught at Batania Basic School in the central region of Ghana.
Hello, my name is Arajane, or as my teachers call me, Arabina, which is a combination between my tree name, Abina, and a combination with my Fonte name, Araba, so it's Arabina. And I am from the central region representing Impesigazi, where I taught with the JHS students.
Our third C today is confidence. But first, we're going to take a look at how 2 of our teachers define confidence.
Right. When you talk about confidence, confidence is a clear-headed and a belief which someone have in a way of being capable of doing what he or she at first thought it was impossible for him or her to do. That is a confidence.
So confidence is the belief or the faith you have in being able to do something.
So as you all just heard from two of our teachers of confidence being defined in their terms, two words stood out: belief and faith. Very similar to the Oxford definition of confidence, belief and faith is one's capability to do something, even if that something might seem to be impossible. Just as you have heard from our teachers, now you will hear from our students of what confidence means to them.
Confidence refers to doing something with faith, but not in fears.
Confidence is the courage, feeling or belief, and faith to succeed at something often.
Confidence is the power and energy which someone puts up in a certain place without listening to opinions of others.
Confidence is when is going to become courageous, brave, bold, and can stand in front of people to be.
So as you just heard from Prince, confidence is the power and energy that someone puts forth in a certain place or activity. In 4-H Ghana, they follow the agriculture education model, which has 4 components or places where students are able to learn, implement, and practice agriculture concepts and develop core leadership skills such as confidence through 4-H activities. We're going to look at some student examples of where they were able to develop confidence in 4-H.
4-H has helped me with confidence to plant plants or to plant crops. Being able to debate your opinions in front of everybody.
For example, when I was in state reciting the creed, it was very difficult for me because there was no confidence. But when I got another opportunity to perform the talent show, it was very easy for me because I have already participated in the creed.
I gain confidence whenever I gain trusted for my mentors, because even when we are voting to select the vice president, I gain trust from them, and it gave me confidence that I can do it.
So Bismarck and Rebecca were able to develop confidence in their ability to lead meetings, share their ideas, and to debate topics as chapter officers. Richmond was able to develop his ability to farm using the school demonstration plots. And Prince was able to develop his confidence in public speaking by participating in the agricultural creed. We had to read and recite the creed in front of a crowd. Prince and I practiced this creed every single day, and he had it memorized, but practicing in front of a crowd was challenging. And so what we do, I asked him, Prince, who is your favorite artist? And he told me, Sir Kofi, Black Sharif. And I asked, well, what do you like about Black Sharif? And Prince spoke of Black Sharif as if I was speaking about Beyonce. Iconic, someone who slays at everything that she does and has the ability and confidence to do what she wants. And so I asked Prince, well, what do you feel like when you listen to his music or you watch him perform? What are 2 words that come to mind? And he said, power and energy. Well, I was like, well, Prince, that's Black Sharif's confidence. So next time you present the creed, I want you to visualize that confidence. And he did, and he crushed it, just like Beyonce did in her 2008 video. Prince later was able to take that same power and energy and perform again at our 4-H leadership camp. And of course, singing Black Sharif. As stated in the video, Prince wouldn't have the confidence to perform on stage had he not moved forward. These are just some of our examples of where our students were able to develop confidence. And now we're going to look at the perspectives of our teachers.
Confidence can be connected to 4-H members in my school in a relation to their confidence of getting the opportunity to stand before people to speak. Most of our students at first were not having the confidence to even stand in public to deliver messages and informations. But through 4-H, through their leadership skills that were imparted to them, through lead contests that they went, they have been exposed to an environment which permits them to express their views, their conscience, and everything they think it is possible for them to do. And I think 4-H has really become something very beneficial with respect to confidence. And to my students, I would say it is excellent on their behalf, because most of them now are very genuine in proclamation of information in public. Thank you.
Like before 4-H came, confidence was like something that the teachers always talked about, that the kids needed, they lacked. I don't know, probably because they find themselves in the rural areas with not so much role models and all that. But when 4-H came, through activities like the meetings, leadership, and all that, the kids became confident in themselves that 4-H really thought about them to send someone all the way from America here to teach them. It's kind of opened their mind and built on their confidence so much that they were able to perform some leadership roles better than what we've already been able to teach them. Like they built so much confidence in themselves and all that. So.
Although us as fellows were only in our communities for 10 months, we were able to see some development and some growth within our students when it came to confidence. For an example, prior to some of our leaders that were in 4-H going to leadership camp, we had an incident where some of our girls did not want to volunteer to represent for Women's International Month. However, after they attended 4-H Lead and presented their creeds, after they presented some of their leadership roles within parliamentary procedure, we came back to school and they were asked to present some of their favorite fruits. Now, of course, my girls, being confident and asking me to bring back exotic fruits like apples and grapes, they were excited to present. Without any hesitation, they were excited to present their favorite fruits. Now, I'm not too sure if it was because I brought them special grapes and special apples, or if it was just truly a development in confidence and feeling capable to share with their students their leadership skills. As our teachers said, through different spaces, through opportunities and new spaces that 4-H created, they were able to develop core life skills. They were comfortable working with adults. They were comfortable working with their peers. Through 4-H activities and through leadership roles, they were in charge of organizing their peers. And they were comfortable coming to adults, to teachers, myself as fellows and their own teachers and headmasters to receive feedback. Through 4-H activities, our students were able to travel. As Madam Gina said, there aren't many role models. There aren't many opportunities to go and see what the world has to offer. But through 4-H, they were able to travel. And more so, they were able to see their peers participating in the same activities with them as they were participating in as well. So they were able to learn, they were able to experience, and it was all through opportunities that 4-H was able to provide for them. So thank you all. And we will now introduce our fourth C, Ms. Sherry.
Etisen. When I say Etisen in my region, you respond with Mohoya Pa, Etisen. Etisen. That means you're fine. I hope you're not lying. So I am very excited to introduce to you guys today character. So my name is Sherry Ray, or as my students call me, Aquia. To introduce this whole topic about character, I had one student who is the absolute best with words. And so he actually wrote a poem about character on his own. And so he actually wanted me to recite the poem to you all, but he went ahead and took the liberty to introduce it.
Hello everyone, my name is Mensah Desmond Kweku
from Ghana, and I'm schooling at Ghana Senior High School. And this my poem is titled The Good Seed, and this is what character means to me.
The good seed. Character is a thing with every living being, something we don't determine from our good looks, but behavior proves. For not all are positive, most are negative. It's so easy to fall on the bad side, to cross the ocean tide. It's hard staying true, but you have to believe in you. And build your own nature day by day into a fruitful structure. The farmer's hope, to be the good seed, the 100 bad ones. But this is not a competition, and there is no elimination. It's just our own lives, in our own hands, with which we have no one to prove good to but ourselves. So we may fill our memory shelves with peace and joy. To God himself, we are not toys, so we have a choice. To be good or not, for a price, for our inner peace and those we grow with. February 14th, I handed 3 things to my students. A copy of the Agriculture Creed by E.M. Tiffany, or as some of you might know as the FFA Creed, a copy of the opening and closing ceremonies guide for 4-H Ghana, and the 2022 Quiz Bowl test bank. My students looked at me absolutely terrified. And so I showed them some videos of some previous 4-H members in Ghana presenting the various competitions. Connections. February 24th, we had our local lead contest. 3 students showed up to present the Agriculture Creed. 18 students showed up to present the opening and closing ceremonies with parliamentary procedure. And 36 of my students sat to take the Quiz Bowl testing. Competence. March 9th, we had our regional lead contest. The qualifying students presented the various competitions in front of 3 other schools and numerous faculty and staff from Ghana Senior High. Confidence. And then March 10th, I went to visit our headmistress about taking the qualifying students to the national lead contest. But then the headmistress explained to me that if we were the only senior high competing, that we would not be able to compete. She was worried about how it might look to have some senior high students competing against JHS students, even though they were roughly the same age. This was completely understandable, but telling my students that they couldn't compete in a contest that they had worked so hard to prepare for, it's pretty crushing. But then the next week, March 17th, we had our national lead contest. At first, a showcase by Ghana Senior High School, and then the competition would begin. My students absolutely crushed their showcase, and then they were used to actually escort the junior high students from the holding room to the presentation room. And since my fellow teachers couldn't go check on their students in the holding room, and the pressure was pretty high for those JHS students competing, I went to go check on them. And then from one side of the room, I see my student Quinsla listening to one of the students present to her the Agriculture Creed. And then on the other side of the classroom, I see my student Collins quizzing a student on the different questions that they might be asked. And then I see my student Alex cracking jokes with one student, my student Marjorie, who's praying with another, and my student Shadrach simply staying quiet and sharing encouraging words. There was not one student in that whole waiting room that was left unsupported. My students watched from the sidelines as awards they had no opportunity to compete for were dispersed, but I think you can tell by the look on their face, they didn't mind. They knew that being a leader for those students that day was far more important than the opportunity to take home any kind of award. Character is not something that can be developed by sitting in the same classroom, surrounded by the same teachers and the same students each and every day. This past year, I've had the opportunity to experience character development in a lot of different ways. This past year, character showed up when students would go out to the farm to water it without having to be asked. Character showed up when a student would take notes for their friend when they were out with malaria. Character showed up when my students would show up to my house to cook me some food or help me wash my clothes because they were not confident in my competence to do either of those. They were probably right. But character for these students began to show up in so many different ways, from being vulnerable in the classroom, beginning to take risks, starting to take their own ownership over their education. Character was seen in every one of these things. My student Mensa, I think, said it better than I could ever describe it. Developing good character is choosing to be the good seed in 100 bad ones. And it's something that is developed when students are challenged and faced with adversity through extracurricular activities and experiential learning, just like 4-H. I feel very grateful that this last year I've had the opportunity to develop my character just alongside all of these amazing students. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the most caring person I know to discuss our last speaker.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ella Scott. I was working in Pakro, Ghana, which I think is the most welcoming community in all of Ghana, in my completely unbiased opinion. During my time in Ghana, I was given the privilege to work with the students at Pakro Methodist Basic School. I was able to learn about their interests, their strengths, their families, and their weaknesses. I was also able to learn about how much I cared for them. I was able to see how they interact with their teachers and with their classmates. I learned that my students have an inherent caring nature. And during my time in Ghana, I was given the opportunity to see this caring nature every single day. And today, I just want to share a few of my favorite stories of my students caring. So in March, our school was given 2 school rabbits, and my students really cared about them. One of my students, Agnes, wants to share about how she cares for her rabbits every day.
My name is Agnes. We have 4-H rabbits. This one name is Peace. Every morning, I give them water and their food and take care of them. The Peace have born 2 rabbits. This one. And another one.
So you can see that Agnes and all of her classmates cared for the rabbits. During school breaks, they would often go and just look at them because they cared about them so much. Sadly, one of the rabbits, little Scooby-Doo, developed an eye infection when she was about 3 weeks old. It was really scary. I noticed it, and there was green stuff falling out of her eye, and I honestly thought she was going to die. And I was scared to tell my students because I knew how much they cared about them. My students knew that there had to be a solution to this problem, so they brought the rabbit, Scooby-Doo, to our headmistress, and our headmistress looked at it and said, well, you can just bring it to the vet that lives in Enswoom. And I was surprised that there was a vet that we could bring our baby rabbit to. And we traveled to Enswoom, me and my Form 3 student, Teresa, or an 8th grade student. And it's about an hour away on a very bumpy road. And we packed little Scooby-Doo in this basket with a piece of fruit and a little tin of Nescafe for her to drink out of, and a little phone charger case to keep her from rattling too much on the bumpy road. We walked around the bustling city streets on a market day with our little secret rabbit, and nobody knew, but we asked around until we found the vet office, and we had to wait our turn once we got there because the vet was helping a dog that got in a dog fight. And eventually it was our turn, and the vet looked at it and said, oh, this isn't a problem, and prescribed us an antibiotic eye drop. We went to the pharmacy, got her eye drop, and continued back to school. The students diligently put the eye drop in Scooby-Doo's eye 3 times a day for a week. And within 3 days, Scooby-Doo's eye opened. My students cared for their animals. So in addition to our school also invested in a school garden. It was a brand new school garden on a piece of undeveloped land, so we had to take the time to clear it. The main method of clearing land in Ghana is using a cutlass, which is kind of like a big machete, and you use it to clear the bush. And And my students are really well versed in using the cutlass to clear land. But whenever you have a bunch of 13-year-olds with swords in your land, there's mistakes and accidents are bound to happen. And one of my students, Bright, accidentally, I didn't see it happen, but his leg was cut with the cutlass. And it was really scary. There was a lot of blood. And we brought him to the assistant headmaster, and they cleaned it up, wrapped it up, and sent him home for the rest of the day. The next day, I came to school, was teaching my lesson, and Bright was not there. So during break, all of the students said, "Madam, it's time to go visit Bright." So we left the school, and all 30 of us went to go visit Bright at his house. And he was definitely a little bit overwhelmed, but we were there supporting him. And we wished him to feel better and said a prayer with him. The next day, we went to school, and Bright was not there. So Bright came again, and we all went to go visit Bright again to make sure he was doing okay. And the next day, Bright still didn't come. And now we knew that he needed homework, or he was going to fall behind in his studies. So we brought him all of his homework and some candy to brighten his day. Eventually, Bright did return to school. My students cared for each other. This is our school garden. Once it was fully established, we had maize growing, kutume, groundnuts, squash, tomatoes, and peppers. It looked like a magical buffet for the community goats, and they broke in often. And it was very discouraging for my students to have to continually replant and then wait for it to grow again, and then just have a goat come in and eat everything that they worked for. Eventually, I was also getting very discouraged and going to visit the garden every day at 6 or 7 o'clock to make sure there were no goats in the garden. But eventually I noticed that one of my students, Richard, who's in Form 1 or 7th grade, who lives right on the other side of this fence, was acting as a guardian for the garden. He was chasing out the goats, and he was patching up the fence, and he was keeping our garden safe. Richard cared for the garden. And lastly, my students cared for an outsider. They didn't have to care about me. I was just some lady that came, but I felt their consistent care every single day. My students cared for me in the beginning when I was a stranger, and they cared at me at the end when I was their friend. They cared about me even though I had a very questionable fashion sense with those orange crocs. I felt their care. I especially felt their care the last week I was in Packrow. It was my last Sunday, and I was definitely feeling a little bit bummed about my time coming to an end. And I was laying in bed, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call from one of my students, Florence, who's our 4-H president, saying that her and her best friend, Teresa, wanted to escort me to church. And honestly, I really wasn't planning to go to church that day, but they encouraged me to go because they cared about me. So I told them to come at my house to escort me around 10 o'clock. And I honestly thought escorting meant that they were just going to walk with me there. But they actually went and they sat with me through the entire 3.5-hour service because they didn't want me to feel alone. I felt their care. My students cared for an outsider. Thank you so much, Ella. And thank you to all the fellows for your wonderful stories so far. As you've heard many stories of students, when we're talking about positive youth development, for the students the fellows are working with, that came in the form of 4-H. And so we thought it was very important to ask them what they learned in 4-H this year.
Okay, 4-H, I've learned so many things. I didn't have been 4-H, I have not gone to farm before. 4-H had taught me how to plant and also nest. Like 4-H 4-H has taught us a lot, I and all my colleagues. It has made us to see cabbage, the seeds of cabbage and carrots. We live in the village, so we haven't seen that kind of seeds before. But when 4-H came, we have known all that and we have known how to plant all that.
How to take good care of my plants, watering, and leadership, education, and development. Thank you.
4-H taught me many things, and including 4-H, I now know how to apply fertilizer on a right time, right place, and 4-H help us to maintain a good farm. And as I become a 4-H, as I become a 4-H officer, I can speak in public boldly without any fearing. And 4-H helped me to do many things, to how to plant cucumber and how to maintain a life in a farm, how to make a compost, and how to rear an animal.
It helped me to know how to plant, and it helped me how to watering, and even how to take records, and tell me to tell the students to come to garden and work hard.
I have learned how to speak in public, how to water the crops, and taking good care of it. That's what I have learned in 4-H.
4-H has do many things to help me. The first thing is that it helped me to know how to apply fertilizers to plants, and also it also helped me to know how to apply beds when there is rain season, and also it also helped me to improve my academic performance and also improve my education.
I've learned more about agriculture life in 4-H.
4-H has taught me how to earn money and build home.
I have learned 4-H have teach me how to plant crops.
And I learned some knowledge skills from 4-H, which is how to take care of crops, pesticides, and I like to plant them. Thank you.
4-H has taught me a lot of things, some of which are leadership skills, how to be a good leader, how to cooperate with my members, also how to play square with everyone. It has also taught me communication skills. For example, the program we had, which was a lead contest, I had an opportunity to participate in the crate speaking event, and because of that, my public speaking skills has improved a lot. It has also taught me how to be a hardworking person, both on the farm and in my studies, and that has really helped me a lot. 4-H has also taught me that my faith should be born of this but not of words, because my faith were usually born of words but not of this, and now as a result of 4-H, my faith is now born of this and not of words. And I'm grateful to 4-H for everything they've taught me. 4-H is it's a really good organization, and I'm grateful for that. It has taught me a lot of things, both in my personal life and in the agricultural aspect, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Before Ella speaks, we have a very special guest that's on Zoom with us or before Ella speaks, sorry, that Nene is going to introduce for us.
Hello, everyone, again. I am honored to introduce an influential and phenomenal woman that I have had the pleasure to study under at the Virginia State University, where she served as the Dean of the College of Agriculture, the Deputy Secretary of Agriculture, Dr. Jewel Brana. Deputy Secretary of USDA, Dr. Jewel Brana, is the first African-American woman to hold this position. Dr. Jewel Brana, in her journey into this role, is not one to be unnoticed. After earning a bachelor's degree in education at James Madison University, she continued her education and completed her master's degree in education and a doctorate degree in career and technical education from Virginia Tech. Our Department Secretary of USDA, Dr. Jewel Brana, has dedicated her career to serving youth in agriculture on many platforms, from serving as a vocational high school educator to becoming an extension of 4-H youth development specialist, and ultimately becoming an executive director of the Virginia State University Center of Agriculture Research, Engagement, and Outreach. So with a pleasure and an honor, I would like to introduce Dr. Jewel Bruna, the United States Department of Agriculture Deputy Secretary.
Thank you all very much. And as a former student of Virginia State University's College of Agriculture, I'm so honored that you have introduced me. I just really appreciate the opportunity to close your home event today. Congratulations on the outstanding work that you all have done. And it's just an honor to share a few words with you all because as Deputy Secretary of USDA, one of my top priorities is ensuring we pursue every possible opportunity to create pipelines of success for future agricultural leaders such as you all. And you all know better than I do that agriculture feeds, clothes, and fuels the world. Actually, agriculture is the foundation of every great thing we accomplish, not only in this country, but across the globe. And I don't just mean the food that we put on our tables. A career in agriculture is about being a farmer, but it's also about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, food and nutrition security, research, education, conservation, forestry, and so much more than that. But I don't need to tell you all this because you already know this. But through your journey, you have helped shape a brighter future by educating on the importance and significance of agriculture through your work in the classrooms and rural communities in Ghana. That is so amazing and so exciting. And I hope that you recognize how much of a difference that you have made both in the lives of individuals as well as in entire communities. So I just want to say on behalf of all of USDA, we say thank you for your commitment over the past 10 months to the students and the communities that you so unselfishly serve. And at USDA, we join you in caring deeply about setting those who are passionate about agriculture up for success. We strongly believe in youth development, and we lead several efforts that advance agricultural education and engage youth and college-age students in opportunities to pursue careers in food and agriculture fields, or even to work right here at USDA. And we're in the process of reinventing the youth engagement program model here at USDA to try to develop more and better partnerships and opportunities for K through 12, for college students, and for interns. So our goal here is to attract and advance a diverse youth agriculture program and really enhance inclusion throughout agriculture nationwide. So just thinking about a couple of things that we have been able to do, we've invested in the Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program. And the purpose of that program is to offer education training, outreach, mentoring programs to enhance the sustainability of the next generation of farmers. And we're also working hard to strengthen our partnerships with minority serving institutions, such as the 1890s universities, like Virginia State University, for example, the 1994 institutions, Hispanic serving institutions, tribal colleges, and more to really try to develop the great future agricultural leaders and again, cultivate the next generation of USDA employees. And when I have an opportunity to talk about USDA, I tell people that we have over 100,000 employees at USDA, but in the next 3 to 5 years, 30% of our workforce is likely going to be retiring. That could be up to 30,000 people that we need to hire here at USDA for the various jobs that we do here. So we need the great agricultural leaders like you. And through a reinvigorated commitment at the department, we are really trying to capitalize on opportunities to ensure we have a diverse USDA and agricultural workforce. So we want to look into the future and attract, recruit, sustain, and train really a broad, diverse of talented youth from across the country. And to put it simply, we believe that the future generations of agriculture, the future of this nation, and of the world. You all are going to address our greatest challenges, such as climate change, equity, global food security, and so many more. And this is all made possible by great programs like the International Agricultural Education Fellowship Program. The first cohort of this program shines such a bright light on what is possible when those who are passionate about agriculture can share your dreams and passions in classrooms across the world. So I can't wait to see what you do next as you take your experiences and you continue to take on big challenges in food and agriculture and drive those important solutions, whether it be in this country or in other places throughout the world. So I just say congratulations, and I thank you again for this opportunity. And I just hope you all have a wonderful and well-deserved welcome home reception. We need you, so keep up the great work. And thanks for the introduction again, and thanks for allowing me to be a part of your closing remarks today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bernard. It was a pleasure having you here today. Well, thank you so much to our students for being wonderful participants and excited about 4-H all year. Again, thank you to the fellows. We've come to the end of our presentation. Thank you all for being here and letting us steal a little over an hour of your time. Thank you to the USDA Foreign Agriculture Service for making this possible, the Borlaug Institute for hosting this program, 4-H Ghana for being our incredible host and country. We could not have done this without them. Special shout out to the best assistant in the world, Lawe, the best program evaluator in the world, Mike Dado, and especially my wonderful, wonderful fellows. I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you.
Finally, our closing remark on behalf of the Borlaug Institute. We'd like to, one, thank all the fellows for a safe return, and we're so proud, so very proud of everything that you've been able to accomplish. And a very special acknowledgement to Jess for you and your leadership, and also to Dr. Elliott and to Dr. Redwan, who provided guidance too. We want to thank you for the wonderful job that you did. We also want to thank our folks that are here and also the folks that joined us online. Where's Alicia? Alicia reminded me that last time I forgot to mention the folks online. And so we also want to thank the folks that joined us online. So thank you so very much for joining us today. We look forward to hosting these seminars come the fall. So thank you for coming. We really, really enjoyed having you. And one final hand for the fellows. I don't know about you, but it was outstanding.